What's up, family and friends? Welcome back and Happy New Year. Can y'all hear us?
Yes, I hope so. If you're on, please send us a little message in the chat. We think we have a little bit of a technical difficulty with the audio. If audio is good, just let us know. If not, we're going to just keep on rolling. But look, it is
Yes,
2023.
it is.
It is, wow, it has come upon us really quick. I tell you what, 2022 was phenomenal. It was something else. God really showed out like he always does. And we have been blessed something richly.
Yeah.
I must say, Marriage Evolves in its first year, first full year inception, God opened up a lot of doors, a lot of opportunities. We thank you all for your support. We thank you for all those who have shared, who have liked, who have subscribed.
And also reposted.
Yes. Look, some of y'all might be like, well, we finally get to see y'all again. It's been a minute. We have been really busy with a lot of one-on-one sessions. God opened up a lot of doors for us to do a lot of local sessions, as well as some of those. Yes, a lot of one-on-one sessions via Zoom, online, stuff like that.
In person.
God just said that. Okay. So we didn't forget about it. It said, we had to kind of, balance some of that time, and it took it. We were busy. Our plate was full. But nevertheless, here we are. We're back, and we look forward to, be a little bit more fluid with it, this year?
Yes, okay. Most definitely. So we thank you for coming up again and watching the rebroadcast, and those who have been following us on Instagram, Facebook, even TikTok, y'all. We have inserted ourselves over to TikTok for a little bit to see what's going on in that arena. Just a little skirt. Yes, we are over there too, and all of the individuals who are on YouTube. Our YouTube has increased also. Yes. Thank you all for all the subscribers that have already subscribed. And let me tell you, we have some great things that are going to be coming up in 2023.
Yes. I hope y'all excited about it. We are.
Yes, we are. So let's go ahead and get started with tonight. Hey, listen, while you are watching, let us know where you're watching from.
Yes, please. Those of you who've been doing this with us, y'all know the routine. When you come in, give us a little shout out from what location, what state. And those of you first time, please do not hesitate. Jump in the chat. We're all family here. Just let us know where you're at so we can give a little shout out to you toward the end of the broadcast. But without any further ado, hey, you know what? We've been married for about 26 years now, right? Yeah. Don't forget how long it's been. Oh, but it's been 26 years now. We just celebrated it back in October. And I have a question for Coach Sean here.
Oh, boy.
Is there anything that you may have wished you've known prior to or to this day?
Known about what?
Known about marriage.
Man, let me tell you. If I would have known that I had to learn how to be unselfish.
Ooh, yes.
And learn how to communicate differently.
What you mean by communicate differently?
What I mean by that is my level of communication is different from yours. So we've had to learn that. But the main portion of what I wish I would have known, listen, y'all, I wish I would have known the family dynamics a little bit more.
Yes.
Because the family dynamics has really been interesting in our 26 years of being married, correct?
Yes. I would say our individual family dynamic as well as our extended family dynamics. Huh?
Yes. So what is one of the things that you say that would be something that you wish that you knew?
Oh, there's a lot of different things. But since you're there, you want to just stay in that vein of family dynamics?
Yes.
Okay. So, man, where will I begin? And those family dynamics are something else. I would say, I know we talked about certain things in the beginning, and we looked at how much similarities that we had. But there was also a lot of variances, a lot of differences, especially by me coming from the South and you coming from California, even though you got Southern blood in your roots. Our viewpoints of things was very different, very different. You know, the way we viewed the discipline, you know, with kids was different. The way we viewed dealing with conflict, you know, that was very, very different. I think if from my side of the family, we were a little more demonstrative in how we handled and talked to each other.
Yes, you're absolutely correct.
But yeah, I would say, you know, that would be one of the things for me, you know, discussing those things. And that's what we want to do here today. We want to discuss this is not all inclusive, but this is a few finer points from the different sessions that we've talked about things and from our own experience. And, you know, a lot of the commonality that people have for those that are looking to get married, those that are, you know, engaged, and for our single that want to know, okay, how do I prepare? These are some keys and some nuggets that you might want to jot down and take notes on. It'll definitely help.
So basically you saying that what one person who is deciding to marry somebody or even consider dating, they should really have a conversation about, you know, how you treat your mother.
Oh yeah.
How do you treat your family? How do you deal with your finances? Some of these things are areas that we didn't talk about. And I really wish that we would have known a little bit more about that before we actually said I do. A lot of times we have couples that are just quick to just go through the formality of wanting to get married and don't think about these things. But there are some young people out there and some older individuals too that are at that point.
Yes.
They want to know, what's your credit score?
Yes. Finances.
Yes.
We're going to get into a real deep right now.
Expectations, just to kind of give
that's a huge.
What is your expectations?
That is a huge.
What do you want me? What do you expect me to do as your woman or your wife?
Yes. But since you're bringing them all up, because you kind of, you know, throwing out some good stuff, and we need to start digging into it. We already talked about and opened up a little bit on the family dynamics.
Wait, hold on a second. If y'all have questions or insight, I did. I'm sorry, I said it.
Go ahead, baby.
But if you guys have questions and there are things that you want to share, make sure you put it in the chat. And if there's something that highlights to you, go ahead and put some fire in the chat room. And we will love your interaction with us as well. Yes. So go ahead, Sarba.
So since we already dove into a little bit and shared a little bit about our family dynamics, I would say one of the other areas that's really key in dealing with family dynamics is addressing those family traditions, those things that, you know, each of your different families, respective families, how they view and how they see certain, whether it be holidays, whether it be the way they value and view handling certain things like finances. There's a lot of different areas in there in dynamics. Dynamics is a general and a broad, you know, statement there. But there's so many different things that you need to take time out and observe and pay attention to. When you're around each other's family, take time out to just sit back and observe. Watch how your potential spouse, mate, is interacting with their family members, with their mother, their father, with their siblings, how they, you know, communicate, you know, the way they all interact. All these different nuances, because you'll learn more about the character of who the individual that you're getting involved in.
Yes, because you remember when we went to New Orleans. We went to New Orleans.
Which time was this?
I'm not going to say no specific time.
Okay.
We just went to New Orleans, and I sat back and I observed some of Roderick's family members, and I was quite alarmed in regards to how they communicated and how they did not communicate. And then how their level of showing love was very different from what I was accustomed to.
But it was unique for us.
Well, and that was something that came up several times since we've been married. And I wish I would have known some of these things before we got married, because it would have gave me a better understanding of how you love.
Yes.
Because you were raised up in that. If you're not one that hugs or kisses or anything of that nature, then you're a potential spouse or the one that you want to marry, they're not going to be used to that. So they're going to shun from that or feel that that's very uncomfortable when you guys decide to
showing
get
of
married.
emotions and affection.
Showing of emotions. That was something that you didn't do very much so, which in the initial beginning, I wish I would, I'm gonna keep saying it, I wish I would have known that, because I didn't realize it was gonna take so much plowing the ground.
Now, some of that wasn't just my family dynamic. That was just me, old Rod, the way I was.
So you just being stubborn.
That was a little bit of me, just me on myself. But in any case, pushing along. So
Okay.
we're going to go further into those expectations, since you already brought those out. This is, like I said earlier, this is a huge one. Expectations can make or break a lot of relationships or even some marriages, especially when you don't have healthy expectations of what you're looking for going into your marriage.
What do you mean?
What do I mean? For instance, if one of you had this fairy tale idea of, the individual being the knight in shining armor, going to swoop you off your feet and take care of all this and do all that for you, but you never lay this out or explain this to that individual, you're going to be sitting there with your mouth wide open and say, well, this is not what I imagined or what I thought how marriage is going to be, or vice versa.
So basically, you're saying that if we don't have a conversation about my expectation of you coming home and always cooking, that is going to disappoint me.
You cannot allow your ideas or expectations to be wrapped up in fantasy. You need to talk about it and be realistic about what your expectations are. And then have that healthy conversation to say, hey, how do you feel about this? This is what I always thought, I always dreamt of. When I got married, I was going to just have this white picket fence and this 2-story, a suburban home, go to work and come home hey, that was my dream.
So how about this society of what we live in now, where everybody is just so busy running after their career, and yet like their relationship and their marriage or their potential marriage, their expectation would be for their spouse to eventually kind of lay their career down a little bit so they could be the supportive system, meaning the husband. What would you say to someone who expects their husband to be the number one, expects their husband to be the number one, and they just kind of lay back and don't do anything? Is that realistic?
Well, once again, that all depends on that couple. If you discuss it and talk about it, and that's your idea of a perfect marriage, that's what y'all like, that's what y'all want, and y'all agree upon it, hey, who are we to say otherwise?
Yeah.
My biggest thing is you need to discuss it. You need to let each other know what your expectations are before you get into that point of marriage and saying I do. Because at that point, those things are going to come up. If you didn't do it beforehand, it will definitely come up. And you be like, well, I didn't sign up for this. I didn't know it was going to be like this. That's why we say you need to discuss these things.
And also with those expectations, I believe, I wish I would have known how much I was going to have to put my dreams as a woman aside, especially when you had kids, to really support you in what you were doing with your military career.
That's another good example. For us in our particular situation.
So you would say
you married a military man. Even though we talked about certain things, I don't know if you knew the gravity of a lot of what was going to be, imposed upon you, if I could use that word.
I did not.
And it was one of those things that I would always remind my wife, well, look, you knew what you was getting yourself involved in. You married a military man. That meant we were going to be moving. That meant we were going to be having to shift things around. You had to, adjust to me and what I was doing. It wasn't so much about her. And, it wasn't fair for her really because, I don't think in its entirety, we took the time to really lay out everything, and she didn't lay out her dreams and expectations of what she wanted to do. I just said, hey, well, you married me, I'm the military guy, you follow me, and hey, that's how it is.
So basically, we would say to the people that are watching, have a real conversation with whoever it is that you're planning to marry about your careers, because you don't want to, after you get married, find out, okay, this person, they're really gung-ho in this area, and they're not even considering the responsibilities of being a wife or the responsibility of being a husband and what it all entails, what you're going to have to do at home on top of taking care of the career as well.
Yes.
So that's a huge one.
Knowing and talking about what it was, marriage was modeled like in your family growing up, if you even had that. Some may not
That's a good
come from
one.
single family homes where you didn't have a mother or a father that was married to a spouse, and so you didn't see it. That wasn't modeled. And then others, you may have had it modeled. It could have been, with both parents, actively there. Or you could have had, one was actively there, the other one wasn't always actively there due to work or, travels, whatever the case may be. So there's so many different dynamics there. But you got to be realistic with yourself and then be open and honest with your potential spouse, your mate, and share with them, look, this is what I saw. This is my viewport of marriage. This is what I'm expecting. This is what I'm thinking. How does that sound to you?
Yeah, I agree. But we're going to go a little bit further into those other ones that we say that we wish we would have known.
Come on.
Paying attention to how a person not only just acts, but how they talk to you.
Especially in those heated moments.
Yes. Whether they're being passive aggressive, whether they're trying to gaslight you. Those are some things, I guess, caution flags that you need to pay attention to, that I wish I would have known some things, because I didn't really understand those areas until later on, after we got married. So the caution flags of paying attention to how the individual is. How does he, I mentioned it to you before, how does he treat his mother? How does she treat her father? How does she treat her mother? If she has children, how does she take care of her children? How does she take care of her house? Is her car clean? Is her house clean? All of these things are, unfortunately, part of a person's representative.
Yes.
Because they put up a facade, and then when you decide to say I do, everything just all of a sudden comes from up under the rug. So I would encourage many of you to have these conversations about your family. We haven't even gotten to the finances yet. How do you deal with those finances?
Don't hesitate to address those different caution flags, because sometimes we can be so much in the lovey-dovey stage, or so much, well, I'm just going to let that slide because he's so cute, she's so cute. No, if it's a caution, if it raises an eyebrow, don't let that little fantasy phase, that little lovey-dovey phase blind you. You better take some time out to address it. One thing I heard somebody say, and I think this was really wise, they said, when you, especially in your dating, and you go out to eat, pay attention to how your potential mate treats the waitstaff or treats somebody at the parking attendant. Because if they treat somebody who is who they may think is lower than them, or they don't really have need of, that will tell you a lot how they will value you in the high or in the low moments in their life.
One individual just posted in this, and we were getting ready to go into some of these portions too, and which is very, very good. We wish we would have known about our love languages.
Yeah, especially in the beginning. I think we learned about it maybe later
years down the line.
Years, but yes,
and then there's a new one too, that we learned, how you choose to be apologized. How do you want to be apologized to?
The apology
love languages.
Yes.
Those are things that I wish I would have known, because Roderick, he is not a gift person like I am. So I wish I would have known that, because I was always giving you gifts, and that wasn't his love language.
It was nice. I appreciated it, but it didn't move me like it moves her.
Yeah.
For me, I'm more the individual with physical touch. You just come and lay your head on my shoulder. That meant the world to me.
It sure did. And how about for me?
Now, for you along with the gifts was words of affirmation. So if I gave her, words, kind words, or throughout the day, just affirming her, or come home even with the simplest little thing. I come home with a little miniature, little piece of chocolate, and just meant something to her.
Oh, yes, it really
It
did.
meant that I was thinking about her, that I considered her throughout the day. And I think that was the key thing. I thank you for bringing that out about those love languages.
Mhm.
That's part of your expectations as well. Taking the time out to consider your mate, how they love.
Yep.
Not how you want to love them, but how they need you to love them.
Yep. That's very important because in our beginning stages, we didn't know anything about no love languages. We did not know even how to communicate with one another effectively to understand love languages. We were so caught up in, honestly, we were just so caught up in being married and sex. And that's a whole nother issue too that we are getting ready to go into. Have a conversation with your potential mate and even your spouse after you say I do. I wish I would have known Roderick's sex drive. Oh,
Well, I'm going to put you out on Front Street, but you was right there with me. So, any case, yes, make sure you have healthy
you
views.
did not just say
Make
that.
sure you have healthy views on sex, okay? Healthy views on sex.
Yes.
There's, especially in this day and time, there's so much out there, so many different things to be concerned with and to really ensure that you take time out to discuss these areas.
Mhm.
Your drives, like my wife just mentioned, your habits, previous habits, if you have
Previous
been active, your expectations in there.
Well, first of all, I wish I would have known. This is not me, but maybe somebody that's watching, how many partners
Yes,
my previous partner may have had.
yes.
That is very important.
That's all part of them previous habits.
Is my partner dabbling in pornography?
Yes.
Some people wish they would have known that before they got married.
Or, like I said, once again, nowadays, other factors to consider, has your partner been molested?
Correct.
Have they been into same-sex relationships or
Mhm.
activities? Have they practiced safe sex? Like I said, all these things that they've been active,
Yep.
A lot of this stuff is things you need to discuss about. Have they have or do they even have an STD, STI?
Mhm.
I'm sorry, sexual transmitted infections. A lot of these
Disease.
things you need to talk about. You need to discuss. Your medical history and things like that. Nothing is under the table. Everything should be brought to the forefront. Everything should be disclosed and talked about, especially if you're looking at wanting to have a full-time relationship and a commitment, a marriage commitment with another individual going forward. Because, like I said, if we knew some of this stuff in the beginning, it sure would have helped throughout those early years, especially us being young and just want to just live life. And I'm sure a lot of people nowadays has been married for some time, they can attest to that. So single folks, if you're listening, you're watching, take heed to these things. If this is something that's never been on your radar, if you never talked about or thought of, this is something you definitely want to have these different conversations about.
Yes. And I'm going to go a little bit into an area where you had mentioned just a few minutes ago about if you wish you would have known if your potential spouse may have been molested or sexually assaulted in any kind of way. How would that impact a relationship if the new spouse or the potential spouse or even the spouse that you're married to now did not know about that?
Well,
And it impacted their sex life, how they responded, and all of that. Can you kind of address it a little bit?
I can really address it. Let me put it like this. I'm going to address it from a standpoint from things that we've heard from individuals who had issues in that area, because I cannot speak for everybody in that situation.
Well, speak on our situation then. How it was for you when I finally opened up and shared that, because you didn't know that.
Okay, good point. So I remember there was a point in time in the way I would maybe maneuver over my wife, and for whatever reason, it would trigger a fear in her, going back to a situation that she experienced when she was younger. And when she sat down and explained to me what was the issue, what was the problem, I said, "Oh, well, thank you for sharing. It would have been good to know. One, I could have been more cautious as to hovering over her. At the same time, I had to reassure her, I'm not that same individual that did that to you. My intentions and actions is not at the same place that person was.
Mm-hmm.
My heart is in a different place than that individual was. So you don't fault me or hold me or look at me because of the same position as that individual that took advantage of you."
But again, this is very important of things that you would want to know about your potential mate, or even your mate that you have now. Because there are some couples that have been married for years and still don't know this part about their spouse when it comes to their sexual habits or their sexual needs, and whether or not they were molested, or whether or not the husband may have been in a relationship with another man, or anything of that nature. Some people still just don't know those things. That's why these conversations, especially in this day and time, is critical to have.
Yes.
You must know what you're getting yourself into before you really get into it.
Yes, you do.
Now, there are some couples even that they wish they would have known that their spouse was a gambler and don't know how to deal with finances.
Yes. Wow, gosh almighty. I'm just looking at the time, but yeah, because I wanted to hit some more stuff on here, but let's jump in there and we can come back. Finances can be a make or break for a lot of people. I mean,
I want to know what your credit score is, brother.
There's some areas where you can overlook some caution flags. There's some areas where you can kind of put up with or tolerate some family situations. There's some areas where, you can kind of like wave off some sexual indiscretion. But when it comes down to them finances,
it's a make or break.
My goodness, boy. Folks
So
are ready to pack up them bags and hit it.
So can you give me something that you wish you would have known about how I dealt with finance?
Well, I'm glad I knew right off the bat, and we nipped that in the butt in the beginning. That was something that I was like, yes, we're gonna do things this way.
What do you mean?
When I found out how free you were with money and spending, I like, no, we're gonna shut this down right now. And she didn't like it. It was hard for her, but matter of fact, I didn't even put your name on anything in the beginning. Because I was like, no, you're not about to mess up finances. I learned how to do finances. I had things set the way I liked it in the beginning when we first got together. I didn't hardly have no bills, and I'm like, going to keep things like this. And it wasn't for me doing it maliciously to have control over my wife. It was to help her help us.
Get discipline.
To learn, yes, not just the discipline, but to get financial education. And once she started getting that education, she started, some of the things that I did by not putting her on anything. And slowly, as she started learning and I started proving certain things that I was supposed to
proving.
Yes, I'm saying proving.
Oh, wow. I was on trial, y'all.
Yeah, she sure was. And when she started doing certain things, that I will put her name on one thing here, one thing on that, because then I can trust that she's going to do right by things. And especially with me being military and being deployed, I knew that if I left her to handle the finances, the business, I can trust that things are going to be fine when I come back home. I'm not going to have no surprises. Okay. So with that was something I did, be it right, wrong, or indifferent. But once, like I said, she got the financial education and handling and managing money the right way and viewing it the right way, to the point to where she took over the finances. I no longer, for many years, I have not dealt with the finances. She manages all our books and everything, does everything, she got jobs and dealing with finances. God has blessed her to be able to know how to handle and manage money correctly. And once she was able to do that and have been doing it, I have put all trust in her. So all she has to do is tell me, hey, babe, you ready for a financial meeting? Or I ask her for a financial meeting, because we do those, and we'll sit down and she'll show me the books. Or anytime I want to, I go in and look at the books without having to, hey, how things looking? Hey, all I got to do is look at it. Okay, good. We fine. And she comes and brings everything to me, let me know what needs to be taken care of, what she's done with things, all that good stuff. We have good communication on it.
So basically,
but at the core of it is trust and honesty with it.
Well, that's a whole nother one when it comes to I would have known, because even though some people walk into a relationship or even they marry, some of them still dealing with a lack of trust.
Yeah. Like at one time when somebody was hiding some money underneath the mattress.
Okay, we're going to go on to another area of the conversation. So when it comes to finances, there's another portion. Does your potential mate know how to budget?
Yes.
First of all, is the car in his or her name, or is it in their parents' name?
Or ex-spouse name, boyfriend, girlfriend
name. What is
name?
The expectation of, I wish I would have known if my spouse is going to honor and take care of everything for his family, but don't tell me?
Ooh, that's another issue. That's another issue.
Or her family, and don't tell me.
We had a couple we dealt with where the husband was sitting there taking care of his extended family, and the wife did not know. And so we had to address that issue. Yes, and we understood the family had need, but that was something you were doing beforehand. You should have brought that to the table and discussed that with your spouse, so that way she can come into an agreement, or y'all both come to some type of agreed resolution on how you're going to manage that situation. Because once y'all come together and you say I do, it ain't her finance, his finance, is y'all finances. Y'all one team. I know a lot of people probably, oh no, y'all are one team. Is one finances for the house. It ain't no separate thing. Now, if you choose to have your one finance and you want to allow your spouse to have a little extra on the side for them, that's fine. But it's one finances for the house.
No, we ain't doing that up in her. This is 2023, brother.
Okay. All right, you try your way, and then get back with me.
Yeah, but one other area of I wish I would have known. There are individuals that we have encountered and spoken to who wish they would have known that their potential spouse was still married before they ended up going into that arena. That's a whole touchy subject.
I don't know if we have enough time to deal with that one.
But these are things that you need to know before you get married. I wish I would have known these things. How he is, how she is, how they are with their family. I'm going to go down the line one more time. How they deal with finances, how their sexual life is, how their family dynamics are. What are your expectations? I wish I would have known certain things. Those of you who are engaged or dating, you still have time to ask these questions. Yes. Don't be afraid to ask questions of individuals. Granted, there's some things that are not going to change, and you may not know a whole lot, but at least you can have the conversation before you say I do. Because if I would have known some of the things
I wish I knew
before we got married, I believe our first 5 years would have been much smoother than it was.
Yes, it would have been.
I wish I would have known how to really handle a blended family, because I didn't know how to handle a blended family. I wish I would have known how to handle the other individual, because I didn't know how to handle the other individual. These are things that you need to consider when you want to marry somebody that has children. How are you going to incorporate that?
Yeah. And like I said, once again, this is not an all-inclusive. There's so many other things, and we could have went even deeper in some of this stuff. But for the sake of time, we want to make sure we at least highlighted some of the primary things that we've dealt with when we sat down with couples one-on-one, the more common core issues. And I want to just reiterate and encourage you, once again, regardless of all the different things, make sure you take time out to discuss. Make sure you take time out to be open, be honest, be transparent, and don't let things slide. You got to be real about what the situation look like. Don't be afraid to pry. Don't be, well, that's in person. Hey, you know what? We're about to really get personal, because we can talk about coming into each other's life. It should be no thing left under the table. Everything should be brought to the forefront and on the table. If you want to start off your marriage relationship right, that's how you do it. You want to start off your engagement right, that's how you do it.
And this even goes for those who have been married before and looking to get remarried again. It's not that you have to try to do everything that you've done before. You can start all over again and do it a different way than what you've done before. Approach your potential mate differently than you did your previous mate before. But just remember, they are not the same persons.
Hopefully you found out and learn from the mistakes from the previous, so that way you can have corrective action and recalibrate some things, and not do and bring some of the same things into the new or consecutive relationship.
And the last one is, I wish I would have known me better.
Oh, come on. Well, that's underlined.
I wish I would have known myself a whole lot better than I did before I said I do, because I didn't know who the ham sandwich I was. Ham sandwich.
Right. Okay.
You didn't really know either.
No.
A lot of times we are always getting to know others, but make sure you get to know yourself.
Yes.
Your likes, your dislikes, what you would agree with, what you don't agree with, what you will accept, what you won't accept. If I would have known these things prior to, I believe my decision processes would have been a whole lot better in regards to dealing with people. And we're kind of going outside of the relational part, but just dealing with people in every aspect of relationships. Because I had to really work on my insecurities and who I was. So all of you that are there, we hope that there was something that was said that was helpful to you. And if you're watching the rebroadcast, thank you so much for watching the rebroadcast. Don't forget to go and follow us on our YouTube channel.
Like and share.
Like, share.
Hit the
Don't be
cowbell.
afraid to share this materials to people that you know can benefit from it. Don't be stingy. Share, okay? Share with other people. And then also, too, listen, we are getting ready to come to Hawaii.
All right.
Oh, man,
Going
we
back
got
to where we all
something
started.
bamming that's getting ready to happen in Hawaii. So there's going to be more information that's coming up. We will be there in February. More information is coming on that. So anyway, once again, we thank you guys so much for joining us on tonight. We thoroughly enjoyed you, and we enjoyed all of your input that you gave, just a little bit.
And real quick, thank you for all those that are on the chat right now. From Texas, San Antonio, St. Louis, Atlanta, Hawaii. We appreciate you. If I miss anybody, Georgia, man, we thank y'all for your support. Thank you for tapping into the session this evening.
And as always, we always say,
we are two hearts, one team with one purpose.